Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Small Business Stories. I am Dr. LL, Loralyn Mears, your host. And every week we bring you all kinds of guests, and I love how this podcast is growing. We are bringing in folks from countries all over the world, which is really kind of fun. And we're also talking to entrepreneurs and small business owners from just about every walk of life. Really doesn't matter what the person does. I think we've covered it. I mean, that's the breadth of our show. So today's guest, though, is a first. We've never had a relationship expert talking about how people can build meaningful, committed partnerships through more intentional, right, and personalized approach than traditional dating platforms. So with us today, we've got April Davis, founder of Luma. Hi, April. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, I think the whole thing at the crux of it, right? Even before we get into what is the state of the union with respect to dating and all that, is how is it that it's become so hard to find meaningful connections when there are 50 gazillion ways to meet people, like more than ever before? Like,
Mhm.
talk to me about that paradox.
Yeah, well, it's the paradox of choice, right? So people have way too many options available, and it makes it you actually more not only depressed, but more unlikely to be able to choose just one. So imagine you're trying to pick out a paint color, and some shade of blue at Home Depot. Well, how many different shades do they have available? And it becomes almost impossible, and that's what's happened now with the dating world and with the apps, because people think that I'm single, I need to go order up a new person on the apps, and they're not really meeting as much or like they used to be in person or through connections and what have you. And so people end up being single longer, and they feel like with everything else in life they can choose whatever they want. If you're buying a car, you pick out the features you want. If you want something, a pizza, right now you just order it up online and you have it delivered to your doorstep on Amazon. And I think people are applying that same kind of logic to their dating world. And so they think that, well, I don't want to settle. They think they're settling if they don't get all the features in a person that they think they want, instead of understanding that your relationship isn't going to, the person that you're in a relationship with isn't going to be able to fulfill every need that you have. That's why you have friends. That's why you have your own hobbies and interests and ways to be able to fulfill yourself. So yeah, there's it's a mindset thing for the most part.
And it was fun to dive right in right there. But let's roll it back a bit and get a little bit of perspective in and around the dating world. In the research for my show, in preparation to interview you here today, I've looked and found out that Gen Z in particular, they're having less sex, hence the need for steamier, right, scenes in movies and TV series and Netflix series and all this stuff. And that older generations are looking to find partnerships, but they're really struggling to find. So they're going to Facebook and rekindling relationships they had with elementary and high school friends because
Mhm.
there's some trusted connection there. And I don't really have a good read what's going on in the middle. Talk to us about the dating world. What's going on?
Yeah, I think, with the people that are rekindling with people that they've known in the past, it's just that law of proximity, right? They already have that history there, that yeah, they have that connection, and so it's easy to make it happen. And so, yeah, but it's still the number one, even with apps, the number one way of meeting someone is through someone else, so whether it be an introduction through a friend or coworker or something like that. And it may or may not be intentional about from a dating perspective. It just may be like, oh, here's, let me introduce you to this person. It might be a good business connection that grows into something else, or, at work or some anywhere else. And as far as, yeah, you touched on the younger generations, they're not dating a lot. They're not dating as much anymore, because I think a big part of that is we're being distracted. We're so distractible, and it's not just the younger people, it's everyone, and we feel like we're busy with our devices. We don't need that relationship. We don't need anyone else. Especially in the United States, this country is built for the individual. You can have your own place to live, your own, car, everything you can get around. You're not reliant on anyone or anything. And that has made people more and more isolated. But then they're also distracted and they're busier and they work more than ever. So they don't feel the pain of being alone as much. And so, yeah, that's why we just have a declining birth rate. And I think it's also just, it's so expensive. That's a big thing that I hear people talking about. Going on dates is expensive, gas is expensive, eating out and everything. And I keep seeing reports that people are spending, thousands of dollars on dating each year, because just going out on these dates or getting ready and, what you spend on the bill, it's expensive. So you're just opting out of it.
So there's lots I want to pull on there. So a couple of things. So first, let's just even talk about the expense and the rules and the etiquette of dating and if it's different by generation. More specifically, I know that the whole movement in Japan started Tang Ping, laying flat, which became the anti-work movement here in the United States in the last 4 or 5 years. But Japanese men in particular were saying, look, we're really tired of working 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And then for what? For the little money we have left over, we have to spend it on dates, we have to spend it on houses, we have to spend it on wives and children. We don't want to do that anymore. And then you come
Mhm.
here in the United States, and I know many of my friends across all ages and their children, everybody's dating, they're on dating apps. People don't even know really what the rules are anymore. Is it always that you go Dutch? Is it you pay this time, I pay this time? Is it that we just go for a coffee and you buy your own coffee, I buy my own coffee and we sit down? Do we even meet in person? Do we have to Zoom or video first? Talk to us about some of the rules because it's pretty chaotic out there from what I understand.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any hard and fast rules. I would say, like, my advice and what I would suggest, being a matchmaker and the kind of people that I work with, is well, so I would but also anyone in general, especially women. I think it's important for safety reasons to get an idea of who you're going to be meeting. If you just meet somebody off an app, do your research, make sure this is a legit real person. And it doesn't hurt to do a quick, FaceTime or Zoom date ahead of time, just to verify they are who they say they are. And because it amazes me how many people are getting catfished, and they're finding out that this person isn't who they said they are. Especially now with AI, there's all they can create. There's all these women being scammed by, like, Brad Pitt lookalikes, or they think they're dating Brad Pitt or some other celebrity, and they're getting scammed out of a lot of their money. So I think it can be good to do that, do those FaceTime Zoom dates. One trick that you can do to make sure that it's not an AI that you're talking to is ask them to raise up three fingers when you're talking to them. And so that's hard to do. That's hard for them to do it and make it look good. And just, I mean, by the time this comes out, that might be it might be fixed and it might be better for the AI. But there's just things like that. I think it's important to do your diligence around anyone that you're going to be meeting with. And I hear a lot of people that think, well, you should split the bill. And I'm of the opinion that it it depends on the individual and the couple. And I think as a woman, so generally the gentleman should pick up the tab. But I also think that as a woman, that if you are going out on a date with some guy, that gentleman that you're not intending on seeing again, then it's not fair for you to take advantage of that and his generosity, and you should offer to split the bill at least. And so it's kind of twofold there. I see people where, like, maybe he'll pick up the bill the first time and then she cooks him dinner or something like that the second time. And it doesn't have to be expensive to go out on that first date. If people they have these really high expectations and they're expensive first daters, that tells you something about them. Or if they're willing to, just maybe go for a walk or grab, a coffee or tea or something and just have a conversation first, and then you can invest in them further. But people with these high expectations on that first date, where they think they need to be, like, swept away and really doted on, I think it's just not fair for the other individual. If somebody wants to do that for someone, that's great, but just because, if they're just a generous nature. But I think there, when you get into spending too much, it becomes like a transactional type of relationship, and that's not really a great foundation for any long-term relationship anyway.
And it's a lot of pressure, right? Who
Mhm.
needs that? And then the side where I'm on is really equal opportunity. As a gal who paid manimony to my ex-husband for years, I understand, that whole side of things and where it is. And the world has shifted, right? I think we've got
Mhm.
to be able to come, forward and figure out, okay, is this reasonable? Is this fair? And where I want to get to is, so you talked about, oh, okay, well, there can be more affordable dating options. Do you have some ideas that you can offer and say, hey, these are really great first dates? They're safe, they're affordable, they give the couple a chance to get to know each other before they have to advance to anything else. Can you give us some thoughts, April?
Yeah, I love just going for a walk. You can meet at a coffee shop and go for a walk from there. A lot of times they're in great locations. Um, you could, I mean, just like bowling can be cheap, anything that I love dates that are active because you're not facing each other and feeling like you're in an interview. Mini golf is not that expensive. It might be 10, $20 for the two of you. That might be a great way to be interacting, and you get to see somebody that isn't just being like they're presenting themselves in an interview style type of date. This is, you're seeing them in a different environment. And so I think that can be a great first date.
And I want to come back to where you talked about sort of the list of features, right? The feature set. How is it that it's so mismatched, or what kind of mismatches do you see where people want a list of features XYZ, but it turns out that actually, if they had looked at ABC, they'd have a much better foundation for a potential longer term relationship? Which do you see any incongruous pairings there?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to realize what do you think you're looking for? Are those values or are those features, right? So if a feature I would say is somebody that likes to golf. Okay, your value is maybe your religion or wanting to have children or not in the future. Those are things that cannot change. They are not going, you might be able to push it aside for a little bit, but it's going to bubble up eventually and you're going to have problems and would lead to divorce if you had got married. So, and same thing with, like, I just think people get so stuck on these features like height. That's a simple one that they can put into the filter on the apps and stuff. And people do it because they have too many options. So they think they need to put in some sort of filter. And meanwhile, they're missing out on some amazing people that don't quite hit their threshold and what they think they need for a height factor. But yeah, those kinds of things I think are what people need to check. And like, okay, are these features that I'm looking for, or are they like true values? Because values are just they're non-negotiables. Whether he wears blue or pink shirts is something that you can, yes, that's a feature. And something, by the way, that you can help to um, change or model if you're in a relationship with that person down the road.
Oh yeah, I just as you're saying that, I'm having parallels and flashbacks to my days of selling software, where if you get into feature functions, the sale is dead in the water, right? But if you focus on outcomes and long-term like impact,
Yeah.
it works,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And you talk about height. I know I had so many of my friends, they're little munchkins. They're 5 feet tall. And I was like, I'm not going to date a guy unless he's at least 6'4". I'm like, no, no, no. You need to save the tall guys for the rest of us because you've got a whole range in there that is still
Mhm.
taller than you are, right? Anyway,
Yeah, which by the way, I think the amount of people that are above 6 feet is like 2%. And, they're a lot of time, most of them are going to be in a relationship already. So sorry to break the news to you women that think they need a guy that's 6 foot tall. But I was just in Croatia and there's a lot of tall guys there. So go check it out if that's all you care about is height.
there you go. Amsterdam. I mean,
Yes,
the Dutch, they're
Amsterdam.
trees. They're all as tall as the windmills. Like it's like
Hmm.
unbelievable. You want to have
Yeah,
tall
men and
folks?
women. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah, for
very
sure. Oh my God. I felt like a munchkin there. And
yeah.
I'm in the, high fives. So it's like, okay, interesting. So let's get to this. So one of the other things that I thought was really interesting as an observation. many of my friends that are middle-aged and women, they are dating. They're now divorced and whatever else, widowed in some cases. And so they're on these dating apps.
Hmm.
And what they constantly come back to me with is, Laura, all the women are so put together, poised, polished, like the nails done, the makeup, the body, like kept in shape. And these guys are not, well, they're looking their age and then some. They're saying, why is it that there's such a disparity that the women are really going out there and trying and the men are barely showing up? Are you seeing this?
Well, not really, but I just am thinking about like look at what options men have compared to women. Women can do all the makeup and all the hair and the nails and all they have all the features. Men have like a watch. That's their that's their what they can do. I mean, yeah, they can do their hair, which I think most of them do, and they can that maybe impact their dress, but other than that, it's going to be things like whether they work out and go to the gym, and that could be both genders could do that, or how they present themselves, how they carry themselves, how they speak. It's I think women just place a lot more emphasis on looks in general. They're expected to all around, and versus guys, they just again they have one like piece of jewelry that they're that is normal for them to wear. Other than that, most guys are not going to get manicures, and I mean, most of them do get their hair done, but they don't need to spend 2 hours curling their hair and what have you. But yeah, I think that both. I mean, I've heard it both ways. Like that women didn't show up putting in a lot of effort, and the guy did, and I've heard both sides of that. So I can't say that there's a bunch of duds out there. Not in my experience anyway. But I mean, these are women that are going on apps and stuff, and they're meeting people, and so I think there's also just Hollywood. Really, not only Hollywood, but like social media and everything. They have driven us to believe that there's all these like magnificent, beautiful people out there just waiting to meet us. And if that person doesn't show up, then we're disappointed. So we have these really high expectations. Whereas the reality is that girl or that guy in that photo, they don't even look like that. These are all airbrush. These are all highly edited. Now we have AI to, fix whatever features that we don't like in ourselves. And so we have this just a really like in general when you go out into the general population, people don't look like that. What you're seeing on the online and the apps and what gets all the algorithm feeds into your algorithm, that those people they don't really exist. They don't even look like themselves. So
Oh, I'm so glad that you said that because actually it
mhm,
was a perfect segue for my next question. That how
mhm,
do you achieve connection through authenticity when we live in this curated world? Everybody's using filters, never mind even catfishing that they're out to scam or this or that. But
mhm,
it's, oh yeah, look at my filter. My cheeks are a little taken in here. Maybe my waist is a little cinched, like
mhm.
whatever else. And so when we show up, we're like, wait, is my date here? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right. So
Well, that's why
how
I would just, I mean, our company is the anti-app. We're a matchmaking company. So we do everything that offline. We meet with people that are offline. So I would just stress that to anyone. Get offline. If you're in this world that's all online and everything that you do is through this curated algorithm that's, feeding you the same kind of junk day after day, you start to think that that's how the world is, and it's not. When you get outside of that, you see things are quite a bit different, and you don't see people that look like what you see in your feed all day long. So I just think same thing with if you want to meet someone, get offline because and go to do things that you want to do that you're interested in, join groups, network, whatever it is that is up your alley that's going to give you the proximity to the kind of person that you are looking for.
And since you're directly in matchmaking, April, and so you're meeting people, you're seeing the personalities, what kind of common behaviors or assumptions are preventing people from finding the kind of relationship they say they want? What do you see?
Well, I think they just get hung up on these different criteria. Like they need to make X amount of money, they need to be this tall, they need to have this kind of job or dress this way. And they're not focused on the end result. They're, the bond, the connection, that person that's going to be there if you get sick and, help take care of you. They're focused on some superficial feature, usually.
And that's such a sad statement because it goes to show where we are with society today. I think that's a commentary on that, right? We've been fed this Kardashian world where it's this, that, it's things, it's items, it's
Hmm.
plastic surgery, it's all of this stuff, right, to achieve
Hmm.
the look,
Hmm.
starvation, amongst them, right, as far as the things that have been done. So it's too bad that that has just become so pervasive in society where we see and
Yeah.
we expect that, and I think we've lost the plot in a lot of cases about the value of a relationship, about human connection in
All
general.
right. And a lot of what I see happening, especially with women, because they're earning more now than ever, they think that, well, I did all these great things. My resume is amazing. I make so much money. So I should have a guy that is more further along than I am, or he makes more money and more like fabulous than I am, and as far as, again, superficial things. And they're not open to somebody that maybe is a professor and really smart and bright and really, accomplished in his own right. But yeah, his number one priority wasn't making money. It was to whatever educate, or he was passionate about whatever topic. And I think they're not understanding the differences in how men and women or what they're attracted to. So women are looking for, generally, it's security, whether it's financial, physical, emotional. There's a lot of things with women, and men are generally, they're looking for attraction. That's what's going to attract them initially, and they don't care about how much money she makes or what is on her resume. I haven't had men that come into us and say, okay, needs to make X amount of money, whereas women are always looking for that. And so I think it's important for us all to recognize, okay, the differences and what we bring to the relationship and what each other are looking for. Because even though, yes, you've been super successful, you're just going to have different options available to you than what you think that you've earned.
Oh, I think that that's just spot on, right? People have just they get wrapped around the axle, for the wrong things, and they're just not giving people the chance. I do think that's where human connection has really disappeared, and being able to carry on a conversation, I think, is a dying art form, just from what I
That
see,
is true. That
right?
is true. More than anything. And I think about some of the most successful couples, and yeah, oftentimes one person is going to be more the dynamic, outgoing, social butterfly, and the other one might be more business oriented, make money, blah blah blah. And so but they balance each other out. It's not about finding your twin, right? It's about finding your companion and somebody that complements you.
I think that that's something that people miss too, right? Like, what are we really looking for here? Is it somebody that the concept that has to make you whole? Well, that's not really, I think, the way to look at it. You got to look at yourself and say, what gaps do you need to address first so that
Right.
you can come into the relationship ready to offer all of yourself, right? Not just
Right.
parts and select parts, because it's not going to work. Then you're not going to be able to make those connections as deeply rooted as they need to be to sustain a long-term relationship.
And by the way, you're not going to find any one person that's going to fill all your gaps or all the things that you need. That's why it's important to have, friends and hobbies, other interests, and different people that can help. Like I get people that are like, oh, I need somebody that likes to golf. Well, do you though? Do you really, for a long-term committed relationship, do you need somebody that likes to golf? Yeah, that would be nice, but could you maybe have a relationship with somebody and then golf with your friends? Or other other people, or about yourself, or whatever it is. Like, it's just confusing. They're confusing things. They think they need to get everything on their checklist from this one person. Well, it's not going to happen.
It,
So
it is not indeed. And so
mhm.
one of the things I explore in my work is all about misinterpretation risk, especially in this era of AI, how we get categorized and categorized incorrectly, so we never surface, right, in the search results. And so if I'm looking at relationships in the same way, is it that people are struggling to find it because they misunderstand themselves, like about what they really want, or is it because the AI and whatever tools are presenting what they have been conditioned to believe is ideal, and they can't make that, I guess, that misalignment clear so that they understand the difference between no, 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 this is really what I should want and should go after, but this is what the bill of goods I've been sold, and separate those two. Like, what is it? Where's that misunderstanding and misinterpretation coming from?
Yeah, I have to believe there's a lot of that occurs. And just because simply that mom jeans have made a comeback, and I can't believe that anyone ever would really believe that those are good looking. So, but anyway, but yeah, I think there's a lot of that where people think, well, I want that because so and so, some other people have it or they want it. And so they're not really aligned with how they really think. They don't even know themselves, really.
I think that there is a lot of that because like we're so caught up in the day to day. It's this, it's that, it's go, it's what we're supposed to be or what we're supposed to be emulating, and we think
Mhm.
that's the right thing. And then we haven't taken the times, I think, a lot of folks to be able to do the work internally, as they say, right? And say,
Mhm.
this is really what I want. This is what my strengths are. These are my values. These are my, so is that in your matchmaking process? Do you go through that to help people really better
Yeah.
identify who they are themselves before they can go out and present themselves to others?
Absolutely. We go through politics, religion, children, and we place a lot of emphasis on, we talk a lot about what kind of relationship they want. We have them do a personality assessment too, so they can get more insight on who they are and how they show up and interact with other people of different personality types. Because oftentimes I think people think like, if somebody's different, they're weird, there's something wrong with them, instead of understanding like, no, that's just their personality type is just they're wired differently. It doesn't mean that they're wrong or bad or anything. It's just different. So I think it's important for people to be able to understand all of these things and in order to be a good dater in general.
And you brought up the P word, right? Politics. Given how polarized we are as a country, how big of a thing is that right now to get that alignment set up before people are paired
Um,
to date?
yeah, I think since 2016, it's become more and more important. And well, yeah, for sure, 2016, 2020 was huge too, of course. 2020 became really big with COVID. And I would say that then it became a lot more, it was more prevalent on people's profiles and stuff where they would say, if you are voted for Trump, I'm not interested at all. And yeah, I see that come out a lot. And now with like even with the vaccine and stuff, people are like, I don't want anyone that's been vaccinated, or I don't want anybody that voted for Trump. We see that a lot.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, right? When, it's all over our feeds, what people are thinking, and it's just there's that level of, I guess, passion behind it, regardless of which side you're on. People are equally passionate from opposite
Hmm.
sides of the house, right? And everybody wants
Hmm.
things their way. So now let's bring
Hmm.
it around as we're wrapping up the show. Where can we find out more about you, April, or Luma Dating, or get on the site? Like, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so it's lumasearch.com, and we're not an app, we're the anti-app. And it's they can just go to the website and fill out their form and update their profile with all their information. And if they want to be proactive and have us look for a match on their behalf, then they can meet with one of the matchmakers, and he'll do an interview of them and figure out, who they are, who they'd be looking for, and if we can take them as a client, because we don't take everybody. We just want to make sure that we have people who would be a good match for them. Or if people just want to be in our database, they can do that as well, just by filling out the same profile form.
Now, are you nationwide? Are you relegated to
Yeah.
a couple of states or a
No,
region?
we're international actually, so we have clients all over the world. So.
Excellent. I guess that would explain why you're in Croatia and where you're there and you got that stuff going. So,
Yeah.
okay, signature question here as we end the show. If we got to look into your closet, April, and there was some footwear in there, boots, heels, something that personified who you, April Davis, are, what are we looking at?
Oh, honestly, I'm like the most comfortable shoes that you can find. I love super. I have this pair of sandals, but they're of course it's like Skechers, I think, and they are kind of like shoes. So I don't know what you call them, but yeah, that would probably be me. Something that I can be outdoors with and really, really comfortable.
There you go. You'd be surprised. Again, I've
Yeah,
answered this question 350 times, and
right.
almost everybody defaults to, yeah, some sneakers or something really comfortable, keeps me going, just keep up with the pace
Yeah.
of my work, entrepreneurship, and I just want to be
Mhm.
comfortable. I don't want to squish my feet into tiny
Right.
little shoes. Yeah.
Even my heels are super comfortable. So I'm like, and yeah, I have plenty of those, but on the day to day, I have a 4-year-old that I'm chasing around all the time, so I have to be quick on my feet.
Oh yeah, I don't think you want to be in stilettos chasing a 4-year-old. No, that'd
Not
be
typically.
difficult. Yeah, no, 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 it doesn't sound good. So with that, April, thank you so much for being on our show today. Really appreciate hearing what's going on in the dating world.
Thank you.